Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Fire Up Michigan. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth, appropriately named for this broadcast, anyways. And you know what? I got to talk about this hat here, okay? Jeremy, can you read it?
Hardcore hunter.
You bet, man. We're hunting for some scoops tonight.
All
And
right.
got them. And we know who your allegiances are, smoking. But, anyways, want to welcome my crew back. George Eichhorn, welcome back.
Good to be back. Thank you, Scott.
And Mr. Basket Bros Will Vogel, welcome back. We had a great show last night, didn't we? We were talking about the Pistons, Vinny Johnson, Chuck Daly, and I know you're one of the lead people there, along with Denzel Snipes, Jacob Christner. Welcome back, Will.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, last night was a great show. It's always a great show. It was awesome having you and George reminisce your memories. I know it's fun to bring back memories. My friend and I were talking about memories the other day about being best friends since fifth grade. And next week's show is probably going to be even better and better and better and better.
I have no doubt about it. I know you put your heart and soul into that show. Anytime you bring George Eichhorn and I to go back to memory lane, my goodness, we got a lot of them. And last but not least, the guy that hardly shows his allegiances any more obvious than he does, smoking Jeremy B. That's it, Mr. Lion.
How you doing tonight, everybody? Glad to be back. Let's talk some sports.
Yeah, we will definitely do that. Just to give everybody a little overview about that. We're going to be talking MLS. We're going to talk some basketball. Before we go any further, though, let everybody know that Fire Up Michigan can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. So there's a lot of other ones. Those are the main ones. Also, please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. And also, before Jeremy gives me his 2 cents worth, want to be a guest? No problem. Send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And then we'll put you on with the show that you're best prepared for. Also, if you want to advertise, call 954-304-4941. All right, Jeremy.
And don't forget, when you subscribe, to like each video and then share it with all your sports fans. This is Fire Up Michigan, so share it with all of your Michigan-based sports fans because it'll be a lot of fun for them.
All right, well, tonight we're going to go ahead and lead off with MLS soccer in Detroit, and then we're going to talk about some basketball as well and one NFL topic with the Lions. So, but we'll get to this one. This one really bothers me a lot. That's why I wanted to really lead off with that. So, when I talk about MLS double standard, Charlotte went out there and drew 69,345 fans. Atlanta, 67,538 fans. And then you have, obviously, the Seattle Sounders play at the Seahawks Stadium. So here's what you have. Okay, Detroit has Ford Field, but yet the MLS wouldn't grant Detroit a team because it wanted it soccer-specific stadium on the jail site. And they passed on billionaires when you think about it. Tom Gores, Dan Gilbert, the Ford family. And then you also ask the hypothetical question, what if Roger Penske and Mike Gillich would have got involved? Well, George, I'm going to lead off with you on this one, okay? I think this is the biggest farce I've ever seen. Now, mind you, I was over at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, and what they do is if they want to, on the upper bowl, they can go ahead and put tarps on it. But why on earth do they get to have football stadiums when you have a ready built facility there? And to me, that's the biggest contradiction on the planet, George.
Yeah, Scott, and guys, it's very, very hard to stomach this one. I agree with you. Dan Gilbert and Tom Gores laid the groundwork, and then the Ford family, Martha and her daughter, came on board. I guess, the term is the 11th hour, the cliche goes. And they went from the jail site to propose the Ford Field site. And what that meant is that the only thing I could think of is this is the scenario I see, is that the league got its nose bent out of shape because the league was led to believe that Detroit was going to build that new stadium. When that didn't materialize for whatever reason, money, site acquisition, whatever, it didn't materialize for Dan Gilbert and for Gores, and then they went to Mrs. Ford. All I can say is that you're right, Scott. It's a double standard. All their excuses were, well, sorry, Detroit, we're not using big open air stadiums. Oh, yeah, right. Like you just cited, Scott, the example of the stadiums that they do have for the MLS. So it's not fair to Detroit. It's not fair to the Michigan community in general, the state of Michigan, not to have a team. And they're expanding constantly. They're always adding teams, 1 or 2 teams every year. And like you said, Scott, these are billionaires you're dealing with. And the fact of the matter is you could have had some wonderful new money in that league with Dan Gilbert, with Tom Gores, and with Mrs. Ford and her family. So there's no excuse. I'm sorry. I don't like it. And something stinks. Something stinks behind the scenes in this fiasco that Detroit was denied.
Well, new money and a lot of money, for crying out loud. I mean, how can you assemble a much more wealthier group of individuals than the ones I just listed? And I'll go ahead and repeat them again for our listeners and the people watching us here on Facebook Live, Twitter, LinkedIn, and our YouTube channel. So I'll outline those individuals again. You're talking on Tom Gores, Dan Gilbert, Ford family. I mean, that's a lot of money. And then, of course, the Illich family as well. I mean, geez, oh, Pete, you want to talk about being able to withstand any losses if there are any? They got deep pockets. And I was at the Atlanta Stadium where you can open the top of the roof, and I walked by their locker room. So meanwhile, what's good for the goose isn't good for the gander, because there's just too much contradiction here. And listen, I may be a hardcore hunter, but I am not Albert Einstein trying to figure this riddle out that you would normally see on the Riddler and Batman. Okay. So yeah, I'm having a good time, and one-liners are part of the repertoire here. But Will Vogel, listen, my friend. Okay, you live in Charlotte, right? They have a team there.
Yes, indeed, Scott.
So give me a little insight from the Carolinas.
Yeah, I agree. Detroit deserves a team. Look at the rich history of the Detroit sports. You got the Pistons, you got the Red Wings, you got Michigan basketball, you got Detroit Lions, great players, and so on and so forth. So I think it's ridiculous because I counted 5 teams that played in NFL stadiums. The New England Revolution playing an NFL stadium, Charlotte, Atlanta, Seattle, and then there's another one. I can't remember who it is, but it's ridiculous. They should have a team, because look at these owners that are willing to throw in money, like you said, Ford, right. Gilbert, Gores. That's a lot of money coming in for the MLS and the city of Detroit. But
and don't forget Illich.
Right.
And Illich.
Well, Illich was not part of the bid, though.
Illich, he wasn't. Okay.
They were not part of it.
And the sad thing is, Detroit has an amazing USL team that have won many championships, and they have a passionate fan base. And their club motto is passion for our city, passion for the game. How does that not scream to the MLS looking at the USL level and saying, man, these guys have won championship and their club motto is very good and they seem like they're dedicated? That screams to me, bring an expansion team to the MLS expansion team to the city of Detroit. There's some teams I'm still confused that have teams. Like I think Charleston has one, or FC Cincinnati. Yeah, I get it. You have the Reds and the Bengals, but you don't have a hockey team like Michigan does. Like, come on. There's so many clear lights that are saying bring a team to Detroit that it's flashing right in front of you.
Well, the one thing I should mention to you, Will, is once upon a time, probably before you were born, they had a team called the Detroit Express, and they had Trevor Francis, right, George?
Yes.
And that was, to me, that was they were actually pretty good, when you think about it.
Yeah, they played at the Pontiac Silverdome. You're right, Scott. Jeremy, you remember that when we had that soccer team?
Oh, yeah. And then I also remember there was another one right after them, the Detroit Metros. And then, and you want to talk about other things we've had. We've had the the semi-pro hockey team, the Vipers, that played out at the Palace. I mean, we've had a lot of rich sports history, and Detroit has been able to support all of them. I mean, granted, not for an extended period of time with like the Vipers, but look at the Detroit Shock. How long were they here? How many championships did they win under Bill Lambier? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know what though, Jeremy? Whether we view it as a extended period of time depends on the stability of the league. So I don't really hold that against Metro Detroit.
No, I don't hold it against Detroit. What I'm talking about, those leagues, as long as they were open, we had a team playing here. That being said, it goes back to a saying that I've said for years. It's Detroit versus everybody.
Yeah, right. That's true.
Yeah,
it almost seems that way, doesn't it? But yeah, I just think the thing that nauseated me about it was the fact that Charlotte was 69,345 and Atlanta 67,538, and yet they're in those. And mind you, they're in relatively new stadiums. I mean, what has Charlotte been around for under 30 years? I think 25, 30 years.
So riddle me this: why didn't they just say, okay, play it in Ford Field?
That's the big question mark. We don't know. Are they punishing Detroit because they changed their mind from a special stadium to a new stadium to Ford Field? Come on, that's silly.
And it doesn't have to be open air. As a matter of fact, your sound levels sound better in a dome than they do in open air, because it takes a rowdy crowd like Kansas City and Seattle to set NFL records.
Yeah. Well, the amazing part about it is I live in an area, Southern Florida, where you have Inter Miami, which is taking forever to get their stadium situation. And they're playing in a stadium in Fort Lauderdale, which used to be the site of Lockhart Stadium. And, you know, the only reason they got a team was because David Beckham wanted them here.
Right.
And whatever David wants, he gets it. But they're playing in a stadium. Now, mind you, I think it's Dry Pink Stadium. It's an 18,000 seat stadium, but this is a beautiful place. For an 18,000 seat, you won't find a better temporary facility than this one. We took in quite a few games last week, but they've worked with their situation a long time while they're meddling with the politics in the Miami area to try to go ahead and get it figured out. So, you know, I mean, obviously, and yet don't forget, Metro Detroit's a major sports town anyways, and they could have easily have supported this. They really could. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I just find it strange to me. And that's why I wanted to lead off with this topic, because if there's an injustice one there, I know that MLS, they're one of their expansion teams. And you know what, Will? I think before Nashville got their new stadium, I believe they played in Nissan Stadium too, right? Well, I believe. So that
probably
sounds
right.
Probably.
That sounds right. Yeah, probably, most likely.
That might have been your fifth one. I know that you talked about the other four, but we'll just say for hypothetical purposes that they were able to go ahead and get that fifth one. And Nashville did not start in a brand new stadium. They had to wait a while to get it going. But I don't think you need another stadium on the jail site. Geez, you got how many great stadiums to begin with, you know?
Within all of our stadiums are within walking distance. There's no other city in America that has their NHL, NBA, NFL, and MLB stadiums as close as Detroit. And it would have been tight. I agree with you, Scott. It would have been really tight to put that stadium right there on that jail site. You know, Gratiot Avenue is so busy. Right. And, you know, Dan Gilbert built the new jail over there on East Warren and I-75 area, and that's a beautiful structure. He's put out a lot of money to help them build that new jail. So that right now that site is still vacant where they were going to put the stadium, but it's a small footprint. Very small footprint.
Right. The parking probably would not support the crowds that the stadium could hold.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you have a lot of celebratory fans.
Whereas if you let it be in Ford Field, the parking and the substructure is already there for 65,000+ fans.
Well, let me tell you, covering a bunch of soccer games last year, soccer fans are great. I mean, you talk about passion and energy.
Yeah.
You know, to me, they are unbelievable. They have their own following. And I mean, this is like a religious thing to these people, you know. And, yeah, I mean, you know, so I got to tell you, soccer fans are some of the best fans out there in terms of passion and energy, to watch a sport where, you know, with all due respect, it's a international brand. And, you know, we can only wonder one of these days if the United States could ever go a little further in the World Cup. But point of the topic.
Let
Point of
me-
the hold on 1 second. Well, the point of the topic is, and Detroit got
Hosed.
excited, hosed. That's a better word. And I don't like double standard. Okay, well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I'm fortunate to be one of those crazy soccer fans ever since living in Europe and playing when I was a kid and still am. So, yep,
Well,
I know exactly where you're coming from, Scott.
I also would like to point out that soccer fans, on an average, have 20 points higher IQ than all other sports fans.
I know that.
I didn't
Really?
know
That's a factually proven statement.
I
Well,
thought it would have been
I'd like to see where that 20-point IQ relates to the MLS higher ups. Okay.
Right. I didn't say the higher ups had it. I said the fans have it.
Translate, and if they ever need to translate, there's plenty of vehicles in Metro Detroit. So we'll put a cap on this one. I felt like this one really deserved a fair amount more time because I just think it's absurd. I just do, and I just hope that Metro Detroit at some point, the MLS will wake up and give them a franchise. And Will even made those references about the other local soccer team in the area. So
then you also got a guy like Joe Pesci who would tell you just what it is. It's redonkulous.
There you go. Well, and not only that, you talk about the spring dollars. The United States Football League is back at Ford Field too. So with the Michigan Panthers. So go figure. All right. Well, we're going to move on to our next subject, and we might as well start out with Mr. Lion because you're wearing the attire tonight. That John Fox, 68 years of age, mind you, got hired by the Lions as a senior defensive assistant. Same title he had for the Colts last season. All right, Jeremy, what do you think of the hire?
Well, is this the same guy that used to coach here for another team?
You tell me. I know he used to coach the Panthers, right? Panthers. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And the Bears.
I think it's a good hire. We needed somebody with experience to help Aaron Glenn out a little bit. When Dom, what's his name, came from the Packers, he was the assistant defensive coordinator. When Dom Capers left, you could see a disconnect after the offseason in that defense. I think he needs that guy to be that voice of reason.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I mean, he coached in your neck of the woods. Anything you want to add to it?
Yeah, he coached for the Panthers for many, many years. He coached for the Bears, the Broncos. He won one Super Bowl with the Broncos. The Peyton Manning-led Broncos. But I read a thing where he coached the defense in the NFL and college multiple times for multiple teams. So he has the experience. And he ranked in the NFL with his defense hit the top 10 in points allowed 11 times during his tenure when he was with different teams. First with the Raiders in 1995 and lastly with the Chicago Bears in 2017. So this guy has been all over the board from head coaching to being a defensive coordinator to being a defensive assistant. So, yes, I think it's a good hire for the Lions. They've got a really good young defense, and I agree. He could be the voice of reason for that team, and I think he can make that defense even scarier what they were this past season and get these players developed even further, because you look who he had on those Panthers teams. He had like Julius Peppers, he had like Chris Gamble, and then slide over to Denver. He had Von Miller, future Hall of Famer Von Miller. He had Bradley Chubb. He's had some really good defensive players on his team, and like I said, he's had the experience.
Good points. Well, all right, George.
Yeah, I'm okay with the move. I mean, Dom Capers moved on, and like you said, you want to get another voice in there. You want to have experience, and that's certainly what Fox brings to the table. A lot of coaches, especially younger coaches in the league, look upon this as an opportunity to bring somebody in for, like you said, an outside opinion, so to speak. And not only, but also the experience they had with teaching young men how to play, obviously. But there's so many coaches now up and down that sideline. I mean, you got a coach for every position. which in the old days, you never had that many. And the defensive coordinator, it's a massive job for him to control everything. And so getting somebody in there like Fox with his experience, like you said, the teams that he's had success with, I think is a smart move. And other teams have done that as well. They bring in these older, wiser guys. I think of Marcia Broda and these guys like that, and Don Capers and guys that have been around a long time. Of course, not old guys, Ditka and Butkus, those guys. No. But I'm just talking about guys that have had a great defensive background, and the skill level is so high. They've taught and trained so many athletes over the years, and the teams they've been with, like you said, Will, they brought that success to the table. John Fox, I think, is a good addition.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to add to this whole thing is, number one, to me, John Fox has had success dealing with defenses before, but the thing that will help him out if the Lions really work in the NFL draft to bolster that defense, holy moly. And it doesn't hurt when Aiden Hutchinson is one of those impact players, and he only figures to get a little bit better. So, I know the Lions, from what I hear, Jeremy and George, are trending towards drafting some defensive players to shore things up a bit. I know at some point they'll probably draft a developmental quarterback, but I know from what everybody's telling me, they want to fortify that defense is what they want to do. So if anybody has anything they want to add or to what I just said, go ahead before we move on to our next subject.
Yeah, the only thing that I hear is that the only reason why they did talk to Anthony Richardson is it's due diligence. Right. I mean, think about it. They did the same thing last year with all the quarterbacks that were rumored that Detroit was taken in the first round. They talked to Kenny Pickett. They talked to Malik Willis. They talked to all those guys. Did they draft any of them?
No.
Well, here, you want a mind-boggling stat that I just found out today doing my research for the show?
Sure.
The New Orleans Saints have not drafted a quarterback in the first round since 1971 when they went out there and drafted Archie Manning.
I was going to say, that was Archie Manning.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, my.
Yeah, that's the longest thing in NFL history. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. 1971 with Archie Manning in the days of the Aints. I heard.
Other than Drew Brees, they've made horrible trades and signings ever since.
Yeah, but you know what? Again, nowadays, everybody thinks you can draft that first round quarterback. You don't have to do that. We already tell you all day long that, to me, a quarterback can be found second, third, fourth, and later on. So it doesn't matter. I don't think.
Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, a seventh rounder, took a team to the playoffs.
Right. Well, that's true. I mean, so anybody that sit here and is drinking the Kool-Aid that you have to draft one in the first round, no. That's all I have to say about it. So, all right. Let's move on. I got a really interesting topic here today, and we're going to go back to basketball. But this is when I heard this from Skip Bayless on Undisputed. That's one of my new favorite shows on Fox, by the way, with him and Shannon Sharp. I really enjoy the nature of it.
I love Skip Bayless, but I love Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, well, I enjoy it because, number one, they're not too loud, so it doesn't give me migraine headaches. Skip is the old school journalist like he is, and Shannon and me is just animated, so I let that by. But the reason why I'm bringing this topic up is one that's all too familiar with in Detroit. Former Piston Jerry Stackhouse, who was in Detroit for 5 years, is turning around the Vanderbilt basketball program. He's in the fourth season of a 6-year deal. You want to talk about the good work that Jerry has done. And I had the good fortune many, many years ago of interviewing Jerry Stackhouse and Allen Iverson. When they played for the Sixers, I would go into the visitors' locker room, and George would go in the home locker room. So, we had a system when we were there working together. So here are the numbers through the first 4 years. In 2019 and 20, Jerry was 11-21 overall, 3-15 in the SEC. 2020 and 21, he was 9-16 and 3-13 SEC. Now makes a drastic improvement. 21 and 22. 19 and 17 and 7-11. Okay. This year, and mind you, we're going into the SEC tournament. Okay. Vanderbilt is 20, 22 and 23, and they're 18 and 13 and 11 and 7 in a very difficult conference. I believe he won a G League title with the Toronto Raptors organization too in 27. Oh, I think what were they? The Raptors 905. But you know what?
Yeah.
Jerry's a good basketball man. He really, really is. And I just found it pretty cool that, and you never know what will happen in the coaching cycles. Could he ever land a head job in the NBA? Maybe, unless he really likes it in college.
I'd give him Dwayne Casey's job today.
Oh, I was waiting for you to mention that one. Oh, my God. I was waiting. Oh, God. Sometimes, Jeremy, when you get to know somebody, you know me and I know you. I was waiting for that Dwayne Casey. All right. Well, with that said, Mr. Dwayne Casey, that's your new nickname for the last 10 minutes anyways. Give me your thoughts about the job, Jeremy, that Jerry Stackhouse is doing.
Jerry Stackhouse is a very accomplished coach for what he's done in such a short time between the semi-pros, with the G League, and now with Vanderbilt. And that team's looking legit in the SEC and got a good chance of winning that tournament. That being said, would I like to see him in Detroit? Does a bear crap anywhere he wants?
I don't know.
Well, who's going to stop a bear from doing it? That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, first of all, let me tell you this, Jeremy. Montana and where is it? Is a long way away from South Florida. Alaska is a long ways away from South Florida. So if you want to go out there and have feedback in the chat room or emails, I'll let them answer your question unless they want to answer it to themselves. But what I'm actually doing right now is taking the fifth on that one. Montana, what's the other one out there?
Washington, Seattle, Colorado, Wyoming.
That's it, Wyoming.
British Columbia.
Yeah, they're up there. So,
yeah.
So I don't know. I'm going to.
There's bears right here in Michigan. There's bears right here in Michigan.
Yeah, there are.
On this particular subject, okay, I'm going to let the opinions run amok. Okay, if anybody want to know what the word amok is, run wild. Okay,
let's have fun.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well,
that being said, I would take Jerry Stackhouse here for the Pistons right now because you know what that Vanderbilt team does there in the SEC? They play defense.
Okay.
What is the one thing Detroit does not do?
Play defense.
We can score tons of buckets, but we can't stop a drop from not hitting the bucket.
I don't know. It almost seems like the regular NBA is that way anyways. All they do is go out there and
well, that's because they took away the hand check. They took away so many things that made it a better game. Everybody loves these 140 to 130 games because that's exciting. It's not as exciting as back on the Bad Boys area when nobody scored over 80.
Well, I'll tell you what, when the 3-point shot is a new replacement for the dunk, then we have some major problems.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you've been sitting patiently, so give me your 2 cents worth on this one.
Yeah, Jerry Stackhouse has done great with this Vanderbilt team. He's improved. He had 19 wins in 2016, messed that up. Before he got there, in 2016-17, they only had 12 wins. In 2018-19, they had 9 wins. So not great. And their last tournament bid was 2017. But he did coach the Defensive Player of the Year in the conference. Liam Robbins, he had 6.8 rebounds per game, 3.2 blocks per game, and 0.3 steals per game.
Wow. I was trying to guess. I said 4.
That was good defense. That's good defensive numbers. And you know what? He's turned that program around. And that tournament's going to be a fun tournament because he just knocked off Kentucky, who is ranked. You got Alabama. You got Kentucky. You got Tennessee. That SEC tournament is going to be a fun one to watch this week. And I hope he takes that team forward because they are playing really well under Coach Stackhouse. And you know what? Vandy's not known as a basketball school, but who knows? Maybe in a few years he'll turn into a basketball school.
Well, you're doing your basketball show this weekend anyways on Sideline Sports. So, that might be one of those sleeper teams that I'm sure you'll research it enough and somebody's bound to mention it one way or the other. But with that said, Jerry Stackhouse, this guy's doing a fine job over in Nashville.
Yeah, he is. And Jerry is a good student of the game. I remember covering the Pistons when he played for them those 5 seasons, and always impressed. He takes the job seriously as a guard. And as a player on that Pistons team, I know that he had some bad teams around that time, but Jerry did a good job coaching. And I don't know if he'd be ready for the NBA, Jeremy. I mean, he has no coaching experience in the NBA, and that's always a big question mark with me. To move right from college to the pros is very tough, even in the NBA as it is in the NFL.
Guess what? If they keep the assistant that's there right now, I would like it, because then you got John Beeline and Jerry Stackhouse.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, other Piston coaches too around the league. Bill Lambert always wanted to get an NBA job and was denied for some reason. I don't know. Chauncey Billups is an NBA coach. Tayshaun Prince has been an assistant coach. So there have been some Pistons making it in the NBA as assistants or head coaches. But no, I'm impressed with Jerry. He's done a terrific job where he's at, and I wish him great success. Except when he plays Michigan State, or if he happens to play Michigan in the big dance. I don't want him to beat those teams. But all kidding aside, he's done a great job, and they've done really well the last 2 seasons, as you said, Scott. And I'm happy for Jerry. He's a nice guy. He was a good guy to interview and to talk to, and I wish him nothing but the success he deserves. And I do agree with Jeremy. I mean, the Pistons must move on from Dwayne Casey. Nice man, but obviously not the right person for teaching defense. And he's getting a little bit old.
Defense.
He's getting a little bit old, his answers after another loss. Oh, we didn't have it in the first quarter. Well, excuse me, you're the coach.
Right.
Your staff didn't motivate the team to come out and play well in the first quarter, or take your pick, the third quarter, the fourth quarter, whatever quarter. But, I'm getting a little tired of the same answers from Dwayne Casey.
Well, the only I'll add to it. Go ahead, Will.
Okay. So what I love about Jerry Stackhouse is, I love guys who were students of the game and then became head coaches. Bill Russell, Phil Jackson was a player. Look at Jerry Stackhouse now. Look at Chauncey Billups. Some of these guys were ex-players and learned from the best that coached them and others, and took that to heart and said, maybe I'll get into coaching one day. Maybe I'll be an executive or something like that. And I love seeing that. I know he's not a coach now, but I was at a Hornets game once early when players were shooting around. I saw Doug McDermott warming up, and he ran off the court. And I said, hey, Doug, huge fan. Loved you since Creighton. Hope your dad's doing well. Is he still coaching at Creighton? He said, yeah. I miss playing for him, but yeah, it was fun playing for my dad. And I said, I bet it was.
Well, let me mention a couple college pro guys that went to the college. I'm going to just ramble off just a few. Number one, we saw that obviously Stackhouse has an NBA pedigree, playing in the league a long time. He's done all right with Vanderbilt. I credit Vanderbilt for being patient with them, because they know they have a good basketball guy. I know Patrick Ewing, I know he's dealing with some struggles right now. I truly hope he gets it turned around. But Juwan Howard and Penny Hardaway are other people, to me, that have done all right in the college ranks. And the one thing what gives those individuals a lot of advantage in recruiting, been there, done that, know a lot of people. I can get you there, but just make sure you're able to play so well. And, so I have a way to talk about my connections. So, credit Vanderbilt University. I really do. Because you know what? They've been patient with them. Now they're reaping the benefits of what they're doing. And if I were Vanderbilt, I'd be thinking contract extension. And there's another guy who's actually a former NBA player who's coaching another school in our state. I'm hoping to connect with him at some point or another. There's a guy by the name of Reggie Theus, who's actually the basketball coach over at Bethune-Cookman University. When I return to Daytona, I'm hoping to connect with him. We'll see what happens. So, some of these guys, when they come to the college ranks, they have a built-in reputation is what they do. And I just love when Skip Bayless mentioned Jerry Stackhouse, that there was no way with a Detroit audience, let alone basketball audience, that I wanted to let this one go, because this team, whether they get in the NIT or the NCAA, it's a good story.
All right. Let me make it clear. Defense. We need it.
You know what they have a saying for that, okay? To be continued. ...
Very true.
To be continued as the KC rolls.
If his head doesn't roll by the end of the season, I'm going to flip my crap. I had to stop myself.
I did it with you one time when I lost my lid because you were predicting everything.
No, I'm talking. I'm going to tear some.
I know.
Some stuff up.
No, I hear you. Let's stay on point with one more good college topic, and this one here is right in downtown Detroit. How do you ignore this one?
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, that's good. Don't worry.
3 points away.
Yeah,
poor kid.
I'm not losing my hat over what you just did, just so you know. I'll do it later.
Don't steal his thunder. Let's go.
I'm not stealing it. I'm not stealing it.
Anyways, Jeremy.
Poor guy.
You said it. Detroit Mercy's Antoine-Davis is 3 shy of Pete Maravich's record. Pete Maravich amassed 3,667 points in 3 seasons with 83 games, but no 3-point line. The numbers, obviously, for Davis, he scored in 144 consecutive games, and he was able to amass his total in 144 games in 5 seasons. To me, had he have broken that record, there's an asterisk written all over it anyways.
How many games did Pistol Pete play?
Well, he played in Pistol Pete 83 games.
Okay, so he had 61 more games.
Right.
That's a season and a half in college, right?
Right, exactly. So I'm trying to...
yeah, there would be an asterisk. It's no different than putting the asterisk and getting those guys in the Hall of Fame in baseball. Let's do it. That being said, it's still an accomplishment. The only reason why this kid was a 5th-year guy is because he couldn't play his freshman year, and you have 4 years of eligibility in college to play.
Didn't COVID have something to do with that too?
Yep, that's exactly why.
Right.
So because of the COVID year, but he didn't play his freshman year at all. He played the COVID year.
Right.
Well, I'm saying he had 4 years of eligibility to play, which technically, if you want it, because he played the COVID year, he technically can actually have 5 years of actual playing. He's only played 4.
Right.
But it's still 61 more games than what Pistol Pete does because they play more games now.
Well, now I also heard something here, and I'll go around the horn with everybody on this, but thanks for your input, Jeremy, filling in a couple of blanks. But I know they have a tournament called the College Basketball Invitational where you can pay to get in if you're a sub 500 team. Now,
and they are.
Yeah, right. So, you know what, Will? You're nodding your head, so I want to turn to you on this, and then we'll go back to Jeremy and George. Go ahead, Will.
So I do feel bad for the kid, but there would definitely be an asterisk if he did break it, because look what Maravich did when he was in college. We talked about it on Basketball Bros. It's a great episode. His whole career, he averaged 44.2 points per game for 3 years, and he wasn't even allowed to play as a freshman because of the NCAA rules back then. You weren't allowed to play as a freshman. That's what the rules were. Maravich, it only took him 83 games, which is insane. He only played 83 games, which is insane. Fun fact about both these guys, both these gentlemen played for their dad in college. Davis and Maravich played for their dad, who was their head coach. This Maravich, like you said, Scott, did it before the 3-point line and before the shot clock. So that's ultra impressive because now you have the 3-point shot. And what do guys like to do more than do a layup? A 3-pointer, because that is the most points you could get on the court. But still,
no, it's not. Wait, that's not the most, because you can be fouled while doing a 3-point shot, make the bucket, and get a 4-point play.
You know what I'm
saying. Well, here, you know what, Will? Hold on. I'll say this in the eyes of Greg Popovich. He thinks they should have a 4 or 5-point shot because they can't play defense in the NBA. All right, continue on.
Yeah, exactly.
Still, I do feel bad for the guy. It hurts. But on my side, I love basketball history. I know records were meant to be broken. But Maravich is one of the greatest college basketball players of all time. And am I happy? Am I mad that the record still stands? No. Would have I cared if it was broken? Yeah, it would have been cool. But, hey, you know what? Some records are still around. Like, for example, I know this is in basketball. Norm Van Brocklin has the most passing yards in an NFL game, 540. Has this been broken? No. It's been over 50 years, and no one still has broken it. So I like some records that test time, like Cal Ripken's consecutive games. And I remember, Scott, I think it was on 108 Stitches or one of your other shows.
Right.
What are the best records that you think will never be broken? And I love records. And yes, like I said, records are made to be broken. But there's some records that just should stand the test of time. And I think this one is going to stand the test of time.
And well, before I turn over to Jeremy, though, what's interesting
George.
about I want to go back to you. Okay. So here, what's interesting about what you said, though, Will, is about Van Brocklin's record is, to me, they didn't have all, you can't cheapen the record because they didn't have all the hand check. You had the hand checking and the physical play. So that even validates, Will, your stat even that much more versus nowadays a passing record. I used to think Dan Marino's 60,000 yards is never going to get past. And now this poor guy here is moving down the charts faster than they can. 4,000 or 5,000 yard games to me are seasons.
If Stafford can play another season, he might pass him.
Yeah, you never know. So, all right, staying on point though, Jeremy, go ahead. You can go ahead and talk about Maravich, and we'll turn it over to George, and then we'll see if there's room for parting shots. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Here's the thing: if they'd have had the 3-point play back when Maravich played, with today's rules, he'd have scored 5,000 points in 3 years.
That's true. Yeah,
because he shot from the 3-point area before anybody even knew what the 3-point area was. Nobody shot like he did. He was called Pistol Pete for a reason because he shot the lights out in the gym. The guy, like Will said, his record has stood the test of time for a reason. And it's going to, unless we have a guy that has 5 years of playing. And it has to be 5 years of playing. This guy played 4 years, and that's why I wanted to make sure I brought that up. He only played 1 more year, which means Pistol Pete, not only did he not play his full season his sophomore year in those 3 years, he probably only played part of it because he was a bench player that promoted himself in the season to be a starter.
Interesting.
So that's something else to think about. Or was he playing on a team that was so bad that he was carrying them and they didn't make the dance? I mean, there's that too. There's all sorts of things that made it so he had less games in that time frame.
Very interesting.
But this Davis kid, he did something pretty impressive.
What's that?
He averaged over 40 points a game for 2.5 seasons straight.
Well, I think what's even more impressive than that, Jeremy, is who he's playing for, University of Detroit Titans.
Yeah, you're damn near a Division II school.
Right. Well, true. But the one thing, George, I'm going to turn it over and transition over to George. Okay. Once upon a time, Dick Vitale coached there. Okay. And then you had Terry Durod, John Long, and who was the other one? Oh God,
Earl Curitan.
Thunder and Lightning. So who was the other one?
Durod and Long, John Long, Terry Durod, Earl Curitan. There were other guys too.
Yeah,
that's my problem is the fans haven't warmed up to it. They draw flies at the University of Detroit Mercy, even though this kid is shooting his lights out. It's a shame. They cannot draw fans to that university to go to games. They tried going to Cobo Arena back in the day and playing games, and they couldn't do it. I mean, it's not his fault. Mm-hmm. But no, U of D, like you mentioned earlier, they may go into that sub 500 tournament, and he will break the record. If they get a tournament bid, his dad, Mike Davis, said they will accept the bid. So the big question mark is going to be now, will University of Detroit Mercy get that bid? And if so, then he will break the record. I'm sure it'll be an asterisk. There'll be all kinds of discussion like this, like we're having. But if the kid does it, he does it. He deserves it.
Right.
The question is going to be, is he fit for the NBA? He's very small. He's very skinny. He's going to be hard pressed. He might not even get drafted, but hopefully some team will give him a chance on his shooting ability alone. But the fact of the matter is it is an attention-grabbing headline here in Detroit. Not a big one, but it has been, especially the last couple of weeks. And Youngstown State just shut him down, man. They put 2 guys on him the other night. He should have broke that record, but that was the Horizon League playoffs. And Youngstown State is a great team, and they shut him down the other night, and that's how come he didn't make the record. He was sub 500 on his shooting and on both his 3-point shooting and his shootings.
But how crazy is that, though? That was his first game this season. He scored less than 40 points.
No, that's not true, Jeremy.
That's what somebody else was saying on ESPN.
He has not scored 40 points in every game.
That's what somebody on ESPN, that's what Max Kellerman and all them was saying.
Well, look it up.
Let me tell you what. Can I tell you something, Jeremy? If you really think that Max Kellerman is a real credible source, and is in the
when they're putting it out on TV, I'm just saying. Well, I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying when Max Kellerman and Keyshawn Johnson and Jay Will are all talking like that about him, that's what I was getting at.
No,
that's fine. But I'm going to tell you, if anybody thinks that Max Kellerman is a reliable source, then you know what? Santa Claus is Jewish.
Why are they on TV then?
I don't, because you know what? In my opinion, Max Kellerman is cheap anyway. So, and you know, ESPN, they couldn't even figure out that Chuck Hughes died, and they thought that.
I know.
Don't get me on that one, but I'm just telling you, Max Kellerman. Don't get me wrong. You know, I benefited.
He's good at boxing. That's about it.
Yeah, that's all. There you go. Thank you very much.
No, I'm not picking on you, Jeremy, because he had a stretch where he was getting 40 points a game, but not for the whole season. No, but it's a great story. Taking nothing away from the kid, but his dad let him shoot the ball whenever he wanted to do. The whole offense was geared around him to try to set this record. Let's be honest. You know, Mike Davis has a losing record in Detroit. You know, they didn't win with his son. I'm sorry, but they didn't.
No. Yeah. But that being said, they can get the bid and he wants to go. The school still has to put up $50,000 to enter that tournament. They don't get paid to go into the tournament. They pay to get in. And that's a big ticket for a small school.
Yes, indeed.
Well, let me give some people a little bit of information about Detroit Mercy. I'm pretty interested. When you talk about just retired jerseys alone, this is a pretty impressive list, by the way. I know that Antoine-Davis, number 0, is going to be retired. Rashad Phillips, Bob Callahan, as in Callahan Hall. Dave DeBuscher, ever heard of him? Pretty good. Okay. Earl Curtin, pretty good. Eli Holman, Willie Green, Terry Durod, Terry Tyler. That's the name I was looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Haywood and John Long. So, you know, you got me cranked up. I couldn't be on this broadcast here without mentioning Thunder and Lightning with Tyler and Long and all the other ones that were there. So, you know what? To me, yeah, Mike Davis, obviously, more power to him. He has his work cut out for him, working for a school in a metro area. I don't even know whether Wayne State does better than Detroit Titans.
No.
Yeah, I would think they do.
No.
I don't know. I'm not.
I mean, attendance wise, Wayne State has a little better following than what they do. The Titans.
They got a brand new field house. They went in with the Pistons on building that new Wayne State field house. So yeah, you're right, Jeremy. They are drawing better.
Yeah, right. I guess the reality is kudos to Antoine Davis, and you know what, Mike Davis. Yeah. They're gonna. Hey, you can get that many points. However you're gonna do it. And here's the thing: if he doesn't get drafted in the NBA, there's always a G League, and this kid could play overseas and make a boatload of money there. So
I think his style of play would actually fit the European game,
probably
at the point and shooting guard, because Killian Hayes was playing as a pro before he was fully grown yet,
right,
and doing well there. This kid has better skills at shooting the ball than Killian Hayes has.
Yeah,
by a mile.
I'll bet my last dollar here, okay, that Antoine Davis is saying, okay, for me, if I can be mentioned in the same breath as petemaravich, life is really good.
I'm quite sure that he's going to draw more national attention. And like I said, the last 2 days of last week, even before he didn't get the title, I was hearing it on ESPN on multiple shows that he was getting love, and that got national media for Detroit, which is kudos. But the fact that the Titans couldn't draw in enough people, that the AD has to go, man, I don't know if we can afford this $50,000 to get this team in this tournament when we get the bid. that he has to make that decision.
They'll make it happen.
That's
They'll make it
horrible.
happen.
But it's
They'll
horrible. They have to weigh the pros and cons of it, is what I'm getting at.
They'll get a generous donor. They'll make it happen. Trust me.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure one of those guys with the retired jersey still alive will say, "Yeah, I'll pay."
Well, there's a few of those out there that can fit the bill to get into the CBI. And you know what? It's a good story. That's why I decided to bring it up.
Yeah,
Great story.
Yeah,
And it's Michigan based. I'm in it.
Yeah, it's a great story. You think about putting this guy here with petemaravich, only 3 more power to him. And you know what? And the one thing, University of Detroit Mercy Titans, is that what they call them these days? I've been away for so long. For them to get the national pub that they're getting for that basketball program isn't the worst thing in the world anyway. So
that's right.
All right. So I asked my crew, any of y'all have parting shots?
I do, yes.
Go ahead.
Spring is here. There's a lot of great sports coming up. Tuesday, we have the World Baseball Classic. A lot of great teams. USA, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Japan. Should be a fun tournament. Should be a very fun tournament. Always love watching the WBC. Major League Baseball starts in the next few months. Next month, I don't know, for those golf fans, I like watching some golf. The Masters is next month. One of the greatest tournaments of all time for any sport, golf, non-golf. March Madness is a week away. So guys, look forward to these great sporting events coming to your TV soon.
Okay. I know you'll be glued to it. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh,
I got a parting shot for you, and no, this isn't Michigan based, but it just came across. It's official. Derek Carr has been traded to the New Orleans Saints, so now they are probably a favorite for the NFC South.
Well, I thought he signed as a free agent.
Yeah, I did.
Did they cut him?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they cut him, but I know I know it's
this morning.
official. He signed.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Regardless, I know that they were thinking about trading him, but he didn't want to get traded. But he wound up there. He met with him before he got traded, is what he did. Got familiar with Dennis Allen, who, by the way, was his coach with the Warriors. So he ended up seeing him and wound up there. So you're on point, Jeremy. And he is in New Orleans. Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead, George.
Well, my parting shot is not anti, but pro Steve Yzerman. Steve's getting a lot of flack, and we'll talk more about this next week. But it's a very interesting discussion whether the Red Wings had a chance or not to make the playoffs. And I know, Scott, you've got it down for next week, so I'm going to save my in-depth analysis till then. But it's still something that people are talking about. The team has gone into a tailspin, and losing to Tampa, then losing 2 to Ottawa in the Canadian capital, and then losing 2 more over the weekend, and blah, blah, blah. But we'll talk more about Red Wings next week.
And you know what? I'm going to do something I never do on this broadcast, okay? My parting shot's going to be with the lead topic because I really want to drive my point home. Wake up, MLS, okay? You need to be consistent from start to finish. And if you don't, to me, I find it hard to believe that I could be interested in that particular league when you don't treat everybody equal. Do you really think that every city can afford a soccer-specific stadium anyways when you have a good venue there? I don't know. I really have my doubts. I really, really do. So 22,000-seat stadium, to me, is all well and good if you can afford it. But if you got an existing structure that works every bit as good as, if not better, and by the way, with these bigger stadiums, they have good suites and amenities to them. So MLS, wake up. You need to be consistent all the way around, and I'm not worried about that. So, meanwhile, that concludes this edition of Fire Up Michigan. My name is Scott Morgan, Motor City Madmouth, but I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy, who's chomping at the bit to say a couple things. Go ahead.
After you said that, I have to say it again. Detroit versus everybody. MLS, put a team here or suck it.
There you go. All right. Well, I think I only brought it up again because I want to drive my point home anyways.
Yes, and I am agreeing with you.
No, I appreciate that. So with that said, I'm going to let everybody know how they can get a hold of you. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, how to get a hold of me? Yeah, jeez, I don't know. Where am I at? No, I'm on I'm on the South Florida Tribune under the Motor City Tribune heading, where I am an editorialist and a consultant. You can find my articles there. I'm soon to start picking up a couple of NFL stories and everything else. So please check us out. We got a lot more coming. You can also find me on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel any day of the week that this guy says, "Hey, Jeremy, I need you." I do it. Then there's my channel, Kneecap Biting with Smoking Jeremy B. You can find me on Twitter at Ballrick Jeremy T or at Smoking Jeremy B. I'm on both of those. And hit me up on smokingjeremyb@gmail.com if you want to be a guest talking about the Lions on my show.
Well, Jeremy's a team player in every sense of the word. All right, well, Mr. Vogel, go ahead.
Sunday night, you can find me on Basketball Bros with Scott. Occasionally, George. We have George as a guest, and we love him. We have Jacob. We have Jay. We have Dom. It's a fun time. And then I'm here on Monday nights on occasion. On Wednesday, I'm on Jeremy B's Roundtable, NFL Roundtable. Can't wait till the next episode of that. Thursday, I am on the show The Sip Off, hosted by Megan Price, and that's where you can find me.
Very good. Well, you've been a really good addition. Glad to have you on. And I'm sure we'll definitely be bringing you back from time to time. You've really made a lot of progress in the time that you've done. The far cry. If anybody's shown improvement on this platform, Will Vogel has done that. All right, George, go ahead.
Yeah, it's too bad we lost all our comments tonight because Will is live, so we have no comments to share.
Right.
I'll give you a comment or two.
Really?
This is a great book. It makes a great gift for any man or lady that follows Detroit sports broadcasting on the air. It's available for around $20 or so. There's a link on the South Florida Tribune website under the Motor City Tribune. I write for Scott and Jeremy writes there too, and you can view our editorials. Also, I write for the Detroit Monitor. You can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com. And also, you can get me on Twitter at my handle is SandGSports99. And you'll find me here on Fire Up Michigan and Fire Up shows and 108 Stitches and wherever Scott needs me as well. And glad to be part of this show, and also glad to be part of Basket Bros, the last show on Sunday night.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when George put those pictures of Jimmy Connors and Muhammad Ali in there for me, that was pretty cool stuff.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
I should point out Fire Up Michigan can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, please hit the red subscribe button on South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Go ahead, Jeremy. Here, let me finish the rest. Want to be a guest? Send topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com, and we'll put you on the appropriate show. And if you want to advertise, call me at 954-304-4941. And of course, if you're watching the show here, you can find me on Twitter at Tribune South, and our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Kudos to Candy Ebling. She makes it all happen and does an unbelievable job. All right, Jeremy, give them the old share and all that other business, my friend. So all of a sudden he lost his voice.
No, I didn't lose my voice. I got stupid.
Oh, that's okay.
As always, when you watch our videos and you subscribe, please like the video. Then share it with all your sports fans. Doesn't matter which show it is. Fire Up Michigan, Fire Up Wisconsin. There's the Sports Exchange. There's Inside the Pigskin. I've been a part of all those. Damn it. And even Fire Up. That being said, I'm going to say something I normally don't say on here.
What's that?
I would love every one of our viewers to try each day to be a better person than you were the day before, because that's the only way to make the world a better place.
You can use that speech every single time you come on this show, pal. It's better than the Bob Barker.
Oh, that's coming.
No,
I'm just kidding.
No, I think a lot of people know the animal one. Just stick to this one, and I'll make a superstar out of you. Okay, but meanwhile, no, stick with that one. That's a good, inspiring thought as we wrap it up. So meanwhile, this concludes this edition of Fire Up Michigan. On behalf of George Eichhorn, Will Vogel, Smoking Jeremy B. My name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us, and we will catch you next Monday night. Take care, everybody, and have yourself an awesome week. Bye bye now.
Have a good one.